here with this week's locks. Walk That Line is back. I'm going to give you the best lines that we could have here. The record right now is not great, but we got off to just a really cold start. We were 500. Everything's trending upward. 500 last week. Believe this will be above 500 this week. So take this one a whole lot more seriously than the last couple. At least this is what anybody in my position would be saying. I ask that you guys like the video real quick so other college football fans will find it on their recommended page. Would really appreciate you take that time to do it. Syracuse tonight, -8.5 against Stanford. This is a terrible matchup for the Stanford Cardinal. Syracuse, they struggle to stop the run. Stanford can't run the ball. Kyle McCord, he struggles when teams generate pressure. Stanford doesn't really generate pressure. They got a good secondary, don't get me wrong, but if you give Kyle McCord enough time to, frankly, knit a blanket, let alone throw dimes, he's going to be able to dice you up. Syracuse is going to beat Stanford by double digits. Ohio State, -39.5 versus Marshall. You heard Charles Huff say it himself. This is the most talented team, the best team that he has seen on film. It's going to be a tough test for the Marshall Thundering Herd right before they go into Sunbelt play, who I think is going to be a pretty solid team. But Ohio State off of a bye, they learned from week one. They came out starting slow in week one. All guns blazing in their last game against Western Michigan. Only allowed 99 yards of total offense. Do you realize how hard that is? Ohio State's going to blow out Marshall. It's not going to be pretty. Southern Miss +5.5 against Jack State. I honestly like Southern Miss to win this game outright. Jack State, man, they're miserable this year. Southern Miss, they put up points against USF a week ago, put up a valiant fight. I think that Southern Miss might win this game, but if Jack State wins, it goes down to the wire and they cover 5.5. Georgia Tech +10.5 against Louisville. Kind of the same principle. I think this is a single-digit game, but I honestly feel like Georgia Tech's going to win this. I'm not that high on Louisville. I feel like Vegas is a lot higher on them because of what they did last year, and Jeff Brom is a really good coach, and I get that. But I'm still not fully convinced that this talent level is where it needs to be. And we know that Georgia Tech is at least a pretty decent team. They're going to present problems for Louisville, like they did, by the way, in this matchup a year ago, in which Louisville only won the game by 5 in a shootout. USF +16.5 against Miami. Again, sprinkle that money line. I feel like there's a good shot USF beats Miami here. Yes, I believe there's a good chance USF wins this game outright. They have a very stingy defense, really good offensive mind in Alex Golesh. They can really run the football. Byron Brown is one of the most exciting playmakers on the group of 5 level. And Alex Golesh, he knows that they have had 2 chances now. This will be the second to make a statement to the College Football Playoff Committee and try to get in that running. The goals at USF, it's not just to win the conference or compete for it. Right now for Alex Golesh, the standard is high. They want to make that college football playoff. They feel like they have the team this year to do it. They have a chance to show it against Miami. And I feel like Miami, this is the type of game that Mario Cristobal teams have lost in the past, and they're hearing that noise about how good they are, and it's rat poison, as Nick Saban puts it. Well, I believe that USF might be the team to feed them that rat poison. Northwestern, they're +11.5 at Washington. I do think Washington wins, but I think this is a one-score game. Washington's offense is not overly impressive. Will Rogers, highest completion rate in the Big Ten. What more do you expect from the guy who set the SEC's record for completion percentage with minimum, I believe, 100 attempts? Yeah, he's going to complete passes, but it's a lot of dink and dunk stuff. They really struggled to sustain drives against Washington State a week ago. This is going to be a tough, gritty David Braun led defense at Northwestern, and an offense that can also move a little bit. You saw flashes against Duke. And by the way, Northwestern off of a bye. Tennessee -6.5 against Oklahoma. I think the biggest selling point here, it's not about the talent. It's not about the environment too. The fact of the matter is Brent Venables in his career going back to Clemson has struggled with this type of offense. The fast-paced up-tempo stuff, That's going to keep Nico Iamaleava from being confused and being able to make the proper reads. This is going to be a tough environment. This might be ugly early, but I believe Tennessee is going to pull away in the end and win by at least 10 points in this ball game. I just think they're much better than Oklahoma, and we've seen that early on this season. Ole Miss, minus 35.5 against Georgia Southern. I don't think Georgia Southern's a bad team, but I definitely don't think they have the talent to be able to stick with Ole Miss. Definitely also peek at that over in this ball game. But Ole Miss has been just slaughtering everybody they play. They're 3-0 against the spread. I'm riding that wave. I'm riding that train. I've picked them twice already. They have not let me down. I'm going with Ole Miss to cover 35.5 against Georgia Southern, laying the big number. Fresno State at New Mexico is the lone over-under, and I'm taking the over 59.5. New Mexico having a hard time stepping the nosebleed. This is going to be a very good pill that Mikey Keene's going to need to swallow. That New Mexico defense is not very good, but on the other side of the ball, Devin Dampier is one of the most exciting quarterbacks in the conference, and Luke Weissong is one of the most exciting wide receivers in the conference. They can run the ball too. They got a fun offense. Bronco Mendenhall is already kicking this team into gear in year one. I believe that New Mexico is going to stick around in this game, but I think they're going to put up points, but they're also going to allow points. And that Achilles heel that has haunted them all season long is going to continue haunting them on Saturday night. Finally, a late ad, Missouri minus 20.5 against Vanderbilt. If I happen to lose this one like I did with Virginia Tech, I will probably not play a spread against Vanderbilt again. But we just saw this team collapse against Georgia State, and this has happened with Vanderbilt under Clark Lea and under anybody else that had been there. Derek Mason happened all the time. James Franklin, it also happened. They start off hot. They get something good going, and then only a couple weeks in the season, something happens. Whether they get embarrassed in some form, whether it's a blowout like 59-0 Alabama or losing to Georgia State, they're not going to rebound very well. The locker room is going to be in shambles. The buy-in is going to be in shambles. Missouri is going to blow them out. Missouri also, by the way, they have a statement to point out to with how much they struggled with Boston College a week ago. I believe that they're going to bounce back and Vanderbilt will not. And those are the 10 locks of the weekend. Thank you guys for tuning in. Really appreciate it. The rest of the game previews coming up tonight and tomorrow morning. I'll see you guys in those.